there is something to be said there about, God's love for us and his attempt to sanctify us will cause pain.
Mm-hmm.
It can be and will be a painful process at times because, as we stated earlier, it requires us to deny ourselves.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be pain associated with that. Additionally, he uses, and we're going to get into this more as we go on, he uses the pain that we experience to build us, mold us, and shape us.
Mm.
So without that, we end up, I bet everybody that's listening to this can think back to something painful in their experience and in their life that they say, I am better because of what I learned through that.
Yeah.
Right. And if you haven't, I implore you to go back and really ponder upon what happened and how it could have impacted your life.
Yeah. No, that's a really great point. So many things in my life, and again, I could go down a rabbit trail for a long time. Again, if you listen to the testimony, I talk about some of that, but some of those things just shaped me. I thought it was horrible at the time. I thought my life was ending. I thought, there's no reason to really even try in certain areas. I'm not saying anything. Why even try to live for God? But it was through those experiences that he's made me who I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to hit one more quote here while we're still on this concept. Hence the necessity to die daily. However often we think we have broken the rebellious self, we shall still find it alive. That this process cannot be without pain is sufficiently witnessed by the very history of the word mortification. So again, what he's describing here, what he's explaining here, is if we are going to die daily, if we're going to take up our cross daily, that's not this is hard. I was going to say it's not a joyous thing, but at the same time, I feel the joy of the Holy Spirit when I talk about taking up my cross daily, because we're talking about experiencing the suffering of Christ and understanding what he did for us. And then in turn, doing that in our own lives daily. There is a joy in that suffering because we know the harvest that it brings.
Yeah. And I hope I put it in my notes later, but I'm just going to mention it. Taking up our cross, and you're saying, we then more remember or think of what Christ experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And this problem of pain, isn't just on us.
No.
Oh,
no,
to think about that our God came and experienced this pain. It wasn't, I can't imagine it was just the physical pain. We talked about the mental pain too.
Yes.
And because he was fully God, fully man, and he experienced all that we do, right?
Yes.
Man.
Yeah.
That'll preach.
It will. And I want to. He experienced betrayal. He experienced abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
He experienced not wanting to do what God had set before him, but knowing that it was the right thing.
Yep.
There is not a thing. Okay. John Lennox? He's another Oxford professor, and he's if you've seen him, you've probably seen him debate Richard Dawkins.
Okay.
And he had the statement. He made this statement in a speech that he was giving to students at Rice, and I think this is appropriate for this moment. He was talking to a rabbi, and in that conversation with that rabbi, he asked him, "You know who Jesus is, and who we say he is? Yeah, you say that he's." God incarnate, basically. He's God in flesh. And you know what happened to him? Yeah, he died on a cross,
mm-hmm.
And the rabbi was kind of like, not too good, not looking too good. Yep. And he says, okay, but if he is God and he did come into flesh and he did die on the cross, what does that say about God and man's suffering? And he says, well, I don't know. He says, it says that God is not so unconcerned with our suffering that he was willing to experience it, to step down and become part of it. So if you think that God doesn't care about your pain, he became part of your pain, and he experienced an excruciation like none other.
Yeah.
Because he cares about what you're going through, and he wants to puts you in a place where you can be reconciled with the Father, where you can have that joy everlasting, that goodness, all of those things that you want to know why you don't have them now, they're found in him.
Yep.
And the rabbi said, why hasn't anybody ever said it to me that way?
Yeah.
And it was so profound and powerful when I heard it. And it mirrors what C.S. Lewis was saying even then.
Yep.